and we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. Today I'm joined by a schload of people. Hello. Father's in the shuttlecraft. You look cool, actually, with the sunglasses, Father.
It's like a ZZ Top.
Don't I always look cool?
You do always look cool. You look especially cool today. And then we have Crewman Zach, which we'll find out about. Well, we'll go ahead. Who are you?
How's it going, everybody? How's it going? I'm new to the ship. I just saw what was going on today with all these Vulcans aboard. It was just really weird. I just wanted to give you a first-hand account of what I saw from my perspective as a new guy on the ship.
That's amazing. Welcome back to Admiral and Conrad, UK Locutus, Sub-Commander Tall, Marcelo, and Earl Grey Trekkie will be along shortly. His dinner was running late today, so welcome, guys. Thank you, and welcome to our audience members. We already have Pulse 324. Is that a lot? And we have Boat Rack down for disco tonight. Check your... Oh, okay, sure. I'll check my inbox. Yes, I am down. No, I don't think I can. I have to visit... Well, we'll talk. Ruben is so pretty today. Yes.
That's not Ruben. Ruben's not that pretty. There's just no way.
I will say, I know Ruben from the Mirror Universe, and I got to say, his hair does grow out like this when he lets it.
That's amazing.
He just can't, because then we'd be the same, and we're supposed to be mirrors, you know?
Journey to Babel, folks. This is a big deal episode. Yeah. Lots of stuff to talk about, I imagine. Watch our conversation will be the shortest ever this week. But anyone would like to do the episode summary? No from Admiral?
Oh, I think Father said he would do it.
I'll try if nobody wants to. I'll start. Or,
now I'm going to give it to Sub-Commander Tall because Father does them a lot. So yeah.
Well, and interrupt me if I'm rambling because I haven't seen this, but it lives rent free in my head, as the kids say. So,
we'll definitely do that.
Journey to Babel. So the Enterprise is tasked with transporting a bunch of Federation officials to a secret planet. Appropriately Babel, where they're going to discuss the admission of the planet Cardan into the Federation. And we open with Kirk, Spock, and McCoy getting all dressed up in their dress uniforms to welcome the Vulcan contingent. And there's kind of an interesting and awkward moment where the ambassador and his wife come aboard, and Kirk initially offers to have Spock guide them around naturally, since he's a Vulcan, and the ambassador doesn't want Spock, so Kirk suggests to Spock to go down and visit his parents, and big reveal, spoiler alert, they are his parents, the ambassador and his wife. So that's how the show opens.
I love the cut to Captain Kirk in that scene where he's just like, oh, this is like, okay, yeah. Spock never told me about
you
his
should have seen us all in the back like, no, those are Spock's parents.
If only Kirk knew at that point that he also has a sister and a brother, a half-sister and a half-brother, a step-sister and a half-brother that he doesn't talk about until...
That would have blown his mind.
It would have been like, yeah.
They're the ones that we know about. There could be more in the closet. We don't know.
It's true.
Did Amanda know? Did Amanda know about Sybok and Michael? Or was that did Sybok keep all these? I mean, I've never seen Discovery, so I don't know what the deal is with the sister, but I know about Sybok anyway. So when he married that princess from before, does Amanda even know about what happened there? Who knows?
She might. Who knows? Not till later. Their relationship's very interesting. But anyways, carry on. I didn't mean
to. Two fingers, one for each. One for
Bring
each.
It to me, logical.
Oh,
make that fire, Vulcan.
This is an X-rated Vulcan show.
I have done virtual.
I'm only after dark material.
I have done virtual Ponfar on both this show and the After Dark show, if I'm not mistaken. So it's okay. It's harmless. But carry on with your summary. You're doing a good job so far.
Okay, but feel free to jump in. Next thing I think is so they go there. Kirk is giving a tour to Sarek and Amanda, and they wind up in engineering, where for some reason Spock's down there. And Kirk asks Spock to explain the computer system to Sarek, and Sarek kind of coldly, archly says he taught Spock his first lesson in computers. And anyway, there's a cold shoulder exchange between father and son, and it's revealed in that scene that the source of the discomfort between them is Spock's having chosen to go into Starfleet, I think 18 years before, instead of the Vulcan Science Academy. And we learn a little bit about that from Amanda. So,
and real quick, another interruption. Sorry to spoil something for you, but it's made clear that it's compounded even worse that Spock chose Starfleet because Sarek chose Spock over Michael Burnham to go to the Vulcan Science Academy, and he ends up rejecting it anyways, and they both end up kind of screwed.
Oh, okay. He could only pick one. He can.
Yeah, apparently, the Vulcans only let him pick one. So.
Oh, okay.
Human kid or your adoptive human kid, but not both of them.
Yeah, exactly.
There's too many humans in our school. If you let both of them. Okay. He told them to reject Michael, and then they don't let Michael in, and then Spock gets accepted, and he's like, well, I actually don't even want to go. I want to go join Starfleet.
Oh, okay. So it's these currents of tension run deep.
Yeah.
Which is
also reflected in the Kelvinverse, isn't it? There's that awesome scene where Spock pushes back against the Science Academy. And I love the fact that kind of is reflected in the Kelvinverse as well. Obviously, it's more about his mum and the comments they make, but it's also a nice little parallel.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they kept that in the new movies, but so then I think the next scene is they're in the rec room and there's a reception, and we learn that all these ambassadors are at odds and there's tension flowing in the air, and Sarek and the wonderful Tellarite new alien we see, Gav, have this history of being at loggerheads, and they are indeed again over this cord in question. And we get a little more backstory on Spock about his pet Salad, and there's kind of a nice moment there. But Sarek, I think after that, feels like Amanda has embarrassed Spock, and he kind of chastises her a little bit. Plot thickens, and if I'm going too fast, let me know. As we discover there is a alien ship that's incredibly fast. Maybe it's got transwarp drive out there. I don't know.
It's going warp 10, so maybe it's actually piloted by salamanders.
It's Paris, yeah. It's Paris. It's Paris and Janeway's baby as a little army.
Oh, tongueless Paris.
They have a different Walker style in the original series.
No, I know.
We will take over the Federation.
We know who it really is. We find out at the end of it.
Yes.
You just spoiled the salamander invasion.
Oh my God! Would you just imagine that if that actually happened? Oh my God!
You left us on the planet when we evolved, and now we're not coming back to reap the revenge. Revenge of the salamanders.
That would be so bad.
So it's not salamanders, but carry on.
Yeah, we don't know who it is. It's a big mystery. And then there's another confrontation between Sarek and Gav that gets a little bit physical, and we learn that Sarek favors admission and Gav doesn't because of the Tellarite mining interest, apparently. And of course, this planet has dilithium. For such a rare substance, it always seems like there's planets that have tons of dilithium. And Kirk has to break up that fight. And
it's like kryptonite in DC, in Superman comics.
Yeah,
kryptonite's rare, but everybody seems to have a little bit of it.
Exactly. Exactly. And indeed, Gav is murdered. He's found upside down in a Jeffrey's tube, a la Luke in the Wampus cave, kind of like the hanging like a piece of meat up there. And Sarek is the suspect because how he died is equivalent to some Tal Shia, right? So the Vulcan form of execution.
Tal Shia, which I was wondering if Team G took that word and created the Tal Shiar.
Such a great name.
Yeah, because it
the neck breakers.
Yeah, well, not. I think he was referring to it as like the art of killing or something, probably, which is like I don't know,
merciful form of execution.
It's like
exactly.
what's it called with the sword in the belly, except with like a neck break.
Yeah, exactly. So the Tal Shia and the Tal Shiar maybe come from similar etymology. I don't know.
Right. I mean, it makes sense. It actually does make sense.
Who were the Tal Shiar again? Remind
They're
me.
the Romulan, basically the Romulan
The Romulan
secret
secret
intelligence.
service?
Yeah.
Okay,
Secret
right,
Service?
right.
No,
Don't
secret
even start
intelligence.
going into
Yeah,
the
like
Shat
central
Bash.
intelligence. Yeah.
And you
Don't
see
even
them in
start with the Shat
unification.
Bash.
Ugh, those people.
There's an even more secret
And the
organization.
Shavash, and then the
Yes.
secret organization that you don't
Ah,
When you get
called the
into
Fight
it, you
Club.
get the
The
specialized
Romulan Fight Club.
Yeah, it's the police, and then it's the police.
It's, I can't say AC-12 over here at Line of Duty because the Americans won't get it, but yeah. But you get the as you join the Tal Shiar, you get bigger shoulder pads the more you go up. Yeah.
Okay.
Organization.
The show got flagged by like 4 different government agencies.
We did get 3 new viewers, so yeah, there might be some like people actually like spotting us, but but yeah, so basically only a Vulcan would know how to do this, apparently. Yes,
Right.
this breakneck move.
Yeah. And when they go to confront him, when Kirk and Spock and McCoy go to confront him, of course he denies it. But during the when they're talking to him, he collapses, and we learn he's had a serious heart condition that has preceded his visit. So then there's after some debate, Spock volunteers or decides that there's a risky procedure to work on Sarek's heart that McCoy decides to do, and Spock's going to be the blood donor. He's going to it requires massive amounts of blood, T-negative blood, which was the name of, one of the first fanzines back, and I think that started out even in the late '60s. T-negative was the name of it. Yeah, but there's a hitch when, in a great moment of Kirk Fu in the hallway, an Andorian is attacking Captain Kirk with a knife. I guess that was the best he could find, in the 23rd century. And before he is dispatched,
you can see the Andorians in this room with like a phaser rifle, like some backnet.
Yeah.
It's a knife.
I'll choose the knife. Yeah.
That's when you
I'll
find
get
out.
Kirk with this.
That's when you find Kirk has got a lethal butt.
It
He
is.
actually
Kirk,
butt hits him.
but
He does
never
butt hit.
bring a knife to a Kirk Fu fight.
Yeah, his ass has the strength of 10 normal men's asses. So,
Best Kirk Fu ever, that is.
and he does take the Andorian out, but not before he gets stabbed in the back. So now he's incapacitated, and Spock is unwilling to relinquish command to do the procedure. This is a source of great drama and tension, a wonderful scene between Spock and his mom, where she's trying to convince him to basically do the human thing and save his father, and Spock is trying to stick to duty. And
Yeah, he basically is saying that Scotty's not competent enough to like command the ship.
Scotty's hungover. It's not. Yeah.
Scotty went shopping when we picked up the other guys. And,
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. He doesn't even appear in this episode, James Stewart, I don't think.
He's mentioned. We almost get him.
Yeah. But I mean, you could kind of understand him not wanting to turn it over to maybe Sulu or someone who is a little more junior. But Scotty's been in command in like
every episode this season. Yeah,
exactly.
he's been in
I like
command
to
a lot.
think that Scotty sleeps in a nest he made of wires in one of the Jeffries tubes, and he just curls up in it.
Yeah.
And he sounds like a tribble snoring. Okay. Wow.
Yes, that's how Scottish people sleep.
That's how all Scottish people sound when they sleep. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we'll have to ask Robbie when he gets here.
Hashtag maybe facts.
So we're almost home. So yeah, he doesn't want to relinquish command.
So McCoy relays this to Kirk, who's determined not to let Spock let his father die. So Kirk feigns being well, so that Spock will go down for the procedure. And as soon as Spock leaves, Kirk is about to relieve command and give it over to Scotty. But that's when the ship is attacked, I think, and he decides to stay up there on the bridge. And so there's tension while the ship is being attacked by this tiny ship, which seems to be faster and more powerful than the Enterprise. We learn later that it was just designed for a suicide mission, so it was using 100% of its power at the time. And in the course of the Andorian being kind of what we think is the Andorian who stabbed Kirk being interrogated. We realize that he has a little communications device hidden in his antenna and was the target of the encoded messages from this ship. So he's brought up to the bridge, and Kirk does his classic maneuver of pretending to play dead, basically to lure the alien ship in, and it succeeds. He's able to destroy the ship and interrogate the Andorian, and we find out that he's actually an Orion, which this is kind of the first, not the first instance, but this came up on Twitter today. This is one of the first times that we see the Orions as this kind of pirate mobster sort of people. But the operation is a success, and McCoy gets to finish up with a nice breaking of the fourth wall and saying, "I finally got the last word." So, great episode from my point of view. 10 out of 10 for me.
Great summary too.
All right. Yeah.
You get a bridge clap on that summary. That's very good.
Thank you.
I may have to conscript you in future episodes to do the summaries.
Once in a while.
Well done. Hi, GT. Hello, welcome.
Oh, I almost mistook Krim and Zach for Nurse Chapel there.
It's like the Walmart version.
We got a bunch of comments coming in. So Ruben is so pretty today.
Thank you.
Yes. Why does Ruben have a tribble on his head? Hello, Captain Killy. By the way, Captain Killy, I don't know if we communicated, but I think you're on holiday or something, so that's why I didn't send you a link. But if you want to be on, we'd welcome you because it would break up this all-male dominated discussion. And also,
we have Nurse Chapel.
Yeah, we do have. Oh, sorry, Nurse Chapel. I forgot about Nurse Chapel. Also, it was very cool to see your balloon trip. That looked amazing, and I was very happy for you. Yes, we have a full house today. It's true. Look, all the tiles are filled up. Looking good, Ruben. Those dress uniforms look great. I agree 100%. I like... Why was that funny? Oh, Ruben, he changed his hair. How'd you do that? I just see that.
It's the future, baby. We can do that in the 24th century.
I have never seen Grecian 2000 work so quickly.
Now it's Chekhov. Now we've got Chekhov.
Yeah. I brought home some boxes from my mom's house, and some of them were my costume box, which has all these wigs in there.
That's amazing.
And this is my Spock wig from when I played Spock, but in like a robe with a cigar, and so it's like Spock off duty.
Oh my! I think those are the best dress uniforms in all of Star Trek.
I love
really?
the appearance. I
like the white ones. The white ones.
Oh
really,
yes,
the white ones. The TNG white ones.
No, I think these are better actually. To be honest, for me.
What the dress uniforms in this? No.
Yeah, in this episode, I don't think they've gotten
crazy.
Which ones are the best for you?
I like the Next Generation ones, the TNG ones.
Yeah. Those are like close.
The dresses.
The dresses.
Yeah, the dresses.
They're literally dress uniforms. It's true.
The only time I like those is in Lower Decks when they were actually like embracing how ridiculous they are.
Yeah, she says, "Are you wearing a dress or something?" Doesn't she?
What's your favorite dress uniform, Sub Commander?
Well, I'm an original series guy, so I like this with the little medals and pins and stuff on them, and yeah.
You can't count the Monster Maroon because they're always in dress uniform in the Monster Maroon. So yeah. We haven't seen a dressier version of that. What about you, Conrad? Which is your favorite dress uniform?
I agree with that. I think those the white ones, the TNG white ones, are just really smart.
I like them, but they make me feel like we're on the Love Boat for some reason.
Yeah, but also when they finally settled down, the ones you see on DS9, the previous ones with just the stripe and the flower, I quite like those as well.
Oh, cool.
The TNG went through so many different like tweaks and stuff like that with dress uniform. Not as many as the Admirals because that's just insane, but. That was a
if Ruben can do a quick change, so can I.
Did somebody say dress uniform?
There you go.
Damn, that's a nice looking uniform there. Good job.
I actually am from the Kelvin timeline. Actually.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
We have a lot of Star Trek uniform representation today. And we got the latest, the lower decks. Well, not the latest, but like the cool missing era. Yeah, that's awesome as well.
This one's from a convention I went to when I was about 15, I think. Or,
No way.
Just when that show was coming out. That was my pushback.
The proper protest talk.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't read the subtitle earlier. I see now. Who needs another generation like
it's very
Pepsi? That's a very meta. That's a very multi-layered jab. It's like it's very good. What's that?
It would have been pretty topical in the mid or late '80s.
Yeah.
What's your favorite dress uniform, EGT?
I was going to say the TNG waiter ones, but Christopher posted a comment saying the Enterprise dress uniforms and these are the voyages, and I think I have to choose that variant.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool. Father, what about yours?
I don't know. Since I came here to talk about Journey to Babel, I'm going to say the TOS one.
And we already know Dadmill's Ruben. What about yours? Favorite?
I'm a fan of the appearance of any dress uniforms. I love them all.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I love whenever they show up and you're just like, okay, random dress uniform. This time it's different, but sure, who cares? TNG's my favorite show probably, so I would have to say TNG, but I love them all.
And
Nice.
the white ones were only in the TNG movies, is that right?
Yeah.
Or okay.
DS9.
And DS9.
At the end of the show.
Okay.
Yeah. Just to prove that this is as long. There you go.
Oh, look at that! It is.
Yeah. It's like,
Can it double as a scant?
I bet they use those scans.
It probably could, but
I bet they use them.
Everyone will get an iPhone, I suppose.
The thing is pants off, and there you go.
Wait, you're on mute or something, Ian?
There you go. If you took my pants off, I would be arrested.
I did my part in the early 2000s to make kilts cool. As you can see, it didn't happen.
Kilts are cool in Scotland. Just FYI.
Well, don't forget the Irish. The Irish do wear kilts.
Oh, they wear kilts as well, yeah.
They
Scotland
do.
and Ireland. It's true.
Well, and Scotty wears a dress uniform kilt in the Abraham Lincoln episode.
There you go.
Savage
That is the
Garden.
best. That's my favorite dress uniform.
That is a good
Yeah.
dress uniform.
Kilt combo dress uniform.
Yeah.
Another statement. How many wives has Sarek had anyway? At least 3 that we know of. Could be more siblings. It's true.
Highly logical.
A lot of Vulcan
I got
princesses
holes
on
on different area codes.
Does that make Sarek the Hugh Hefner of Vulcan?
Or the Benjamin Franklin. He could be the
They
Benjamin
did live a
Franklin.
while, yeah.
Or the Gene Roddenberry.
Or he
Hey!
I mean, there's Chapel, Uhura, and the writer of this episode, Dorothy Fontana.
That's right. I forgot.
He was getting
That's true.
around. That's 3 just from this episode.
The Vulcan kids were mean to him, and maybe he wasn't super interested in hanging out with them anymore. It's true. The enemies were indeed green in this episode. Gav needed an apple in his
Yeah. We see the Tellarites a couple more times in the original series, but they never quite look like this with the eyelids hanging over it like that. We see them again, but it's just normal human. There wasn't as much makeup. But as a result, the actor had to look kind of like Gary Lockwood, had to look like that, and he seemed sort of arrogant. But it was a good effect.
No, I kept thinking, how in the hell is this guy seeing? Because when I saw him first pop up and start arguing with Spock's dad in the galley, I was like, how the hell are you seeing? Because I couldn't see his eyes. They were like he had like black hole eyes or something. I was like,
Yeah.
They look like grown-up Ugnaughts from Star Wars.
Yeah, that's that's exactly what
They
he looks
do.
like.
Well, Ugnaughts look like
That was one of my
Colorites.
favorite
Colorites
scenes
came
too, because it
first.
was like an after party at a comic book convention. That whole part with the little everybody at the little party, I was like, oh my god, it's just like an after party at a comic book convention.
Yeah.
It trips me out, the weird like blobs of colorful food stuff.
Food cubes.
Food
The food
cubes.
cubes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
The food cubes
melon
and floats.
Yeah,
they
they
float
put
as
the-
well.
yeah, I'm just like, what the heck is all that?
That's what
Rainbow
they
food.
went from, they
It
went
goes
from
all the way back to the
cheeseburgers
man
to
trap.
Play-Doh food, you know.
Yeah, it does go to
Yeah.
Man Trap. It's true.
And
By
there's
the way,
two little ladies that were in front of the table right at the reception, wearing like the fezzes and looking like weird golden palumpas. Which is like,
Yeah.
what the heck are they?
Yeah. No, all the money on this episode must have gone into the makeup, whether you like it or not, because it's otherwise it's a bottle show. I mean, it's all on the ship. I mean, I think
Yeah.
they even did the shuttlecraft to have the Vulcans arrive initially, instead of, I think they were planning to do a matte painting of a Vulcan city, but they just didn't have the budget for it, so they just settled for the shuttlecraft and reused that. So. But I like a lot of the. I mean, I like seeing the breadth of the Federation a little bit. You get that sense in this episode that, I don't know for the first time, but at least you see it really in depth, that there's so many different races and planets, and it's a bigger thing than maybe we've seen before.
Right,
And
the
I think it's the
humans,
first-
space elves.
I think it's actually the introduction of the concept of the Federation too. I don't remember hearing about it
They mentioned
before.
Federation
There's one.
season
They did
one.
say it before.
Yeah,
Oh,
they mentioned-
sorry. Okay.
Yeah, they mentioned
But
it episode before.
but really get a sense of it. There's a lot of world building in this episode. And
That's what
Dorothy, Montana, and Bennett the Tellarites and the Andorians both in this episode.
Yeah.
This is
Good
like
on
a
her.
really key, as you said, it's a really key world building episode. So much of this feeds into everything else in Trek. It's amazing. It really is. They
And she
nailed it.
She also
I think,
fleshes out Spock's backstory. And they had already kind of hinted as a relationship with. So we talk about, like a Vulcan bully, a Salot, teddy bear pet, stuff that we see them build on later in the animated series when they do Yesteryear, or in the recent Kelvin movies when we see a bunch of that stuff again, or Discovery definitely borrows a lot from this episode. So there's so much going on here. The later Trek goes back to.
Isn't there a Sellat in Enterprise as well?
Yes.
Don't they have a Sellat in
Yes,
Enterprise?
when
Yes, in the Forge, or is it
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
episode? Yeah.
No,
And
there wasn't the
Not
teddy bear.
teddy
That was the cats. It's the other animal.
The cats. Those are the cats. You're
There's the
right.
thing,
Sorry,
the
my
thing
bad.
that Salot caught in Yesteryear.
Right.
I like the comment that McCoy makes about the Vulcan salute being more awkward than the dress uniform. I love he's like, "What's that thing you're doing?" He's trying to do it and stuff. That's just such a great little moment.
Yeah, it's sort of that bit when he's trying to do it. Yeah. You can't-
So many great little moments.
What did you guys all think of Sarek and Amanda? It's probably hard to see it as their introduction now that if you've watched everything, kind of it's all mixed in your head and you've seen, you know Sarek and Amanda really well if you watch Discovery. But what did you think of this like moment of how they introduced them in the episode and stuff?
I want to make hanging out with friends and touching fingers like that, just like standing around chatting about things. Hey, saw this new
Just doing
show
that
on
with fun.
Netflix. Yeah, it's
If
great.
I'm not mistaken, that specific like walking while doing that gesture or holding was like an Elizabethan era type of formal.
kind of like
Yeah, like a
they do that normal restaurant.
Right.
Right, and I think that's what they were doing. I don't think it's always like it's always foreplay.
And let's not even go into the search for Spock. Let's not even go with the search for Spock.
And old Savick and Spock. Now I literally run.
I would say it's like you start when you're with your special someone. You start by holding hands. That's intimate, and then the hands start like caressing, and that's like this whole thing, right? Like, and then then after that things happen. Then after that things happen. You have a costume change, and in the next scene the person's wearing a whole different outfit or has just taken a shower, and then Starfleet Boy didn't know what happened in the scene before. So there
It could be worse. You could change hair color from dark and then go back to blonde again.
And the Starfleet boy also wouldn't notice. That's true.
And in the third season episode, the Enterprise incident, when Spock is with the Romulan commander, they do similar sorts of gestures. I mean, actually, they both are doing this together at first, but there's always been a thing of Vulcans with their fingers and the extra sensitivity. We were talking a little bit about that before the start of the show, but just how, and I think some of that came from Nimoy. I think he came up with some of that idea. But even like we were saying before, the mind meld using your fingers, or the nerve pinch, you're using your fingers. I mean, just that they have some, extra nerve endings in there or whatever. But
they must have a great time with all like the modern flat screen technology. They're like, I'm absolutely loving this. The
first iPhone on Vulcan, they were like,
all they need to do is swipe right.
Baby.
I'm going to swipe right and swipe left because it works for me.
That's right.
Oh my. So that's all you guys thought about Sarek and Amanda?
I thought it was quite odd.
I thought Sarek was quite abrupt and he was quite, formal. And you can see how that mellows over time. That relationship with Amanda.
Yeah,
and stuff.
my first reaction is when I saw this as a kid was Spock's a Romulan. Because the Romulan commander from the first
that's a real
season.
Spoiler.
Yeah,
that's funny.
So Spock's a Romulan, but no.
She who is my wife.
What were you saying, Marcelo?
I
found it really odd the way that Amanda and Spock's dad were introduced, because like you said, I already know them a whole lot better than if I just saw this episode today and I just met them today. So it was very odd to see their interactions, and it was very strange the way that Sarek kept calling his wife to him. I'm like, what do you got her on, like a leash or something?
There's a weird case to be made that he's because if you see how Amanda and Sarek interact in Star Trek Discovery, there's a weird case to be made that he's somehow broken Amanda's spirit, and now she's just like a dutiful.
The vampire.
Yeah, she's like, because she's not as
you put on a dog when you don't want she lives like this dome.
Logic cone.
She who is my wife cannot have peripheral vision.
She is my wife cannot have peripheral vision.
There should be a short trek after this episode where they get divorced.
They definitely don't. They're still together as far as we know in Star Trek 4.
She who signed the divorce papers.
I mean, come TNG, probably, by the time we get to TNG, and who's his wife called in?
Aaron?
Perrin, yes, that's right. That's
Amanda obviously told him to go and do one, and he hooked up with Perrin. So
hold on. How many wives does he have? Because I only know of like
he was married that we know of. He was married to a Vulcan princess, and then after that he was married. What's that? We don't even know they were married. Sorry, actually we don't. He was with a Vulcan princess who's Cybok's mom, and then he was with Amanda, and then with Perrin. So those three are the only ones that we know of.
Right.
But
He also lived to be like 200 years old.
And I like to believe that when he mind melded with Picard, they had like a whole episode like Inner Light, but about them two living
like a WandaVision style.
It makes me. Do you think Kirk was really stupid that he couldn't connect the dots? Now he knew Spock was half Vulcan, and then you have the Vulcan ambassador with a human wife. You think, are you really not connecting the dots here?
No, I think when Kirk was getting, deciding that Spock was going to be his first officer, he just didn't bother pulling up his personnel file and have a look.
That's right.
I don't know if he notices that she's human right away. I mean, she kind of smiles in that moment, but especially with the collar, you can't really see her ears. So I don't know if he, he certainly didn't connect the dots. But
I must admit, when she Amanda first cut, you half expect.
Spock family, it's a whole new thing coming soon on there.
It was
the Surak family.
They're like,
it was very odd to me that that Kirk didn't know who Spock's parents were.
I could see it happening because apparently Spock and Sarek have been estranged for 18 years, and Spock hasn't been back to Vulcan in 4, and so like he only seems to see his mother, and it could make sense that Sarek would request not to, since he's famous and like to and he seems to be adamant later on about giving Spock like his due and letting him have his own path and like not be influenced by like, you know, the famous like, you know, ambassador's son stigma. So it's possible that they were it was not put on the record who his parents were, and Mariners.
I mean,
why
an android.
Wait, why would it?
My boss at work has no idea. Like,
Oh,
my mom and
yeah, that's a
never
good
come up.
point. That's a really good point.
This guy's a good officer.
Parents are.
I mean, they had an android infiltrate the ship like 2 episodes ago, and nobody knew shit. So I don't think they're really keeping too many records on the Enterprise there.
But Father makes a good point. Like Spock could have also omitted it from like the question. You know, like it could have been omitted for many reasons.
But you know, Kirk must have known.
Like, gone to work, and like you have to tell where you work, like who your parents are. Like that's never come up for me.
I mean, they're my emergency contact people on my emergency contact form.
You do security checks where you have to like put in your parents as part of your gaining your security checks and stuff like that. You know?
It depends on the job. Most of our jobs are not security. Like
he must have known regardless. He must have known regardless because in this side of paradise, he says, "Your father was a computer like his son," and Spock replies, "My father was an ambassador. My mother was a
oh,
teacher."
He does. Oh,
wow.
Yes. So this was known, and there's only one ambassador, I would assume. I mean, lots of diplomats, right? But one ambassador.
Right. But one ambassador.
He probably should have known, but. Anyway,
That's a good point.
And that was an episode that Fontana, she didn't write that one, but she massaged that and definitely came up with that dialogue. So, but whatever. Anyway, it made for a good teaser. So
It did. Very good. Good points. I didn't know that. I've forgotten that he mentions that in an earlier episode too. So
yeah.
It was a pretty tense situation though. It's, in the middle of Kirk Fu, you're focused 100% on the Fu and not on the things people are saying.
Kirk's always sometimes focused on who he's going to Kirk Fu next. So he can't worry about those details sometimes.
A few more comments. The Scotch Trekkie did a chat with Melinda Snodgrass today. No one from Picard even bothered to send her a courtesy memo saying they created a whole series based on the measure of man. Rude. Yes, that is rude. Sarek is busted. He clearly loves him, and he even smiles at her, which I appreciated. He probably it's a hollow smile for him, but he's just doing it because he knows she'll like it. But still, it was very cool.
I think he does a good job. I mean, Mark Leonard is a great actor. He's got a great presence. And, I think it's hard to play a Vulcan. It's hard. I think a lot of people do it too straight, a la Robin Curtis in Star Trek 3 versus Kirstie Alley in 2. I mean, you have to give the audience, there's a sense that there's something underneath here that you're repressing. Or
I always think of that episode of Voyager when they're doing the play based on Voyager and the actors are having a hard time. Like, what do you mean I can't cry? Like, what do you mean? Like, they don't know how to play a Vulcan because it's like you gotta emote something because then you're not delivering a character.
Yeah, and he does that. I feel like with her. I mean, you just said that he smiles a little bit.
Do you feel that some of the sort of saying about Vulcans and emotions and everything? I mean, going back to Enterprise, do you think they actually some people were really pissed off that they made the Vulcans a little bit too emotional?
No,
I find the Vulcans in Enterprise are dicks, basically.
Yeah, but I have to agree with Conrad on that one. Yeah,
that's accurate.
I know what you mean because it's almost like a jarring. That's like, why are they being like this? I mean, there's also the Vulcan in Take Me Out to the Holosuite. He's a dick as well. The captain that they challenge. He's always like, because he's basically just baiting and winding Sisko up, isn't he? So maybe
they say it right. I mean, was it Archer actually says it right in one of the very first episodes? You've been with humans too long because he raised his voice.
It's about.
So I'm just wondering, what is the fine line with Vulcan? Is that there is it's that really fine one. Obviously, Spock is the benchmark from TOS. He is the benchmark, and I think T'Pol followed that quite well in Enterprise as well. Yes, there was the few things, but where does it go too far? Where do you go too far being too emotional, or do you go too logical? Where is it's a really fine line being with Vulcans, isn't it?
Yeah,
where's Tuvok on the scale?
I think Tuvok's awesome Vulcan.
I think Tuvok's a brilliant Vulcan.
Yeah,
I really do. I really do
like
like him.
Dry wit and sarcasm that he has.
But it's quite an interesting concept where you say where do you go too far in either way of the emotions when it comes to Vulcan?
Yeah, and it probably boils down to who you saw first and just who you liked first. I mean, if you grew up on Spock, that's like you said. I mean, that is he was the first. But if you grew up on one of these other characters and you like their portrayal, then that's where the line is for you. I mean, I think that's kind of everyone probably draws it in a slightly different space, but I mean, for sure, you can't play it 100% emotionless and cold. I mean,
I think for me, the three best Vulcans there are is Spock, T'Pol,
Nimoy, Spock.
Nimoy, Spock. Yeah, sorry, Nimoy, Spock, T'Pol, and then I nearly said Tuvix then.
I should live.
But Tim Russ nailed it as a Vulcan for me. Those three are my favourite three. The three Vulcans I think of in Star Trek. For me, I mean, I don't know what you guys think. I mean, Sohal, what are your three favourite Vulcans?
Well, Father was getting cut off for a second. I was curious about what he was going to say while I think about my three favorite Vulcans, because now I can only think of those three.
Sorry, Father.
Yeah.
No, it's his. Who is?
Tuvok.
Tuvok's the most traditional.
Yeah, T'Pol, I could kind of do some weird stuff with her and like her whole romance with Trip, and then Spock as he gets older. We get into Star Trek 6 and logic is often the beginning of things, and at the end, there's more to the universe than just logic. He becomes a little bit more open-minded. But Tuvok is a very traditional Vulcan, very stern, devoted to logic Vulcan from beginning to end. And he's not ever like a boring or uninteresting character because of that. They still are able to make him a very intriguing and entertaining character to watch. So I think he's kind of like the gold. I mean, Nimoy is obviously like the foundation of Vulcans comes from Nimoy. But as far as like a typical Vulcan, I think Tuvok is kind of the gold standard.
Yeah.
Nimoy mellows. I mean, the
Fathery 2024 hashtag Fathery 2024.
And I like the fact that you look at Nimoy Spock in the original series, and you look at it, Star Trek 4, Star Trek 6, and stuff. It's subtly different. It's almost like where he's been with humans for so long, he's now he's accepted it, but it doesn't lessen the character at all. It just enriches it. I mean, Nimoy was just amazing at doing that, wasn't it? Just taking certain elements and just running with them, and inventing the Vulcan death pinch and stuff like that. It was just a genius at it, and it's great to see. I imagine if you watch Nimoy right at the beginning, and then you watch Nimoy like Star Trek 6 right at the end.
Oh yeah,
it's the same character, but they're matured and they're more accepting of humans and having lived with them and stuff. I love it. I think he's a genius. Well, he was a genius.
Earl Grey Trekkie's seen Enterprise 17 times in the last year. What are your thoughts?
I think that I would agree with Ian that T'Pol and Spock and Tuvok are, well, they're my favorite too, but also I think that T'Pol, I love Tuvok, but I think Tim Russ gives an amazing performance, but I wish more had been done for the character. And we get some great episodes with Tuvok, but I don't feel there's a huge development for him, so I'm not as interested in him as T'Pol. And even though I like T'Pol a bit more, I'm frustrated with T'Pol because of the romance she has and the blatant sexualization that goes nowhere and wastes time. And I feel like because Jolene Blaylock was such a fan of the original series, it really helped, because when you see her in Broken Bow and you see her in season 4, she comes along a huge way. and maybe that's because of Trillium D and the Pinar syndrome. But I really like that kind of growth and development, and I think that what was I going to say? To Paul, although Jolene Blaylock was against T'Pol becoming more emotional, I think she was already becoming more emotional before she was even affected by the Pinar syndrome and the Trillium D addiction. Even episodes before that, you can really see in her performance that she is repressing the emotions. She gives kind of catty eye glances, and sometimes she doesn't smile, but she kind of tenses her mouth sometimes and moves her jawline in a way to show frustration. I could go on a whole tangent, but I just love Spock, and I think a lot of people think of Spock as almost an android sometimes if they've not seen the original series recently, because it's easy to think of Spock as he was the founding Vulcan, but he wasn't emotionless. No Vulcan is emotionless, but he wasn't like an android. He actually did make Spock really interesting, and he really emoted well without emoting, if you know what I mean. He brought such a nuanced performance to Spock that really, I think, should have affected Vulcans in the future more, because a lot of Vulcans are so, they're so like androids if it's a guest star in a future episode and stuff, and they don't really think of trying to really show that they're repressing, because obviously Vulcans, their emotions, they do have emotions, they have really, really powerful emotions, and that's why they repress them. Because if they don't, what happens? War breaks out like it did in the past.
They turn into Romulans.
They turn into Romulans, basically.
Yeah.
So do you think that we're going to see different Vulcans in Discovery Season 4? See how they've evolved further? Now they're unified with the Romulans, and they've probably been finger banging or whatever at the time.
Yes. I think with Navarre, you actually saw so many different types. You saw the Romulans, you saw the Romulan, the Vulcan, and you saw
the Navarran
shades of grey in between.
I think that'll be
it'll be interesting to see, bar Spock, how they're going to portray in Strange New Worlds. I think that's
maybe we'll get a Navarran crew member now that the Navarrans are thinking of coming back to the Federation.
Yeah,
we might get a Navarran crew member, which would be pretty cool. I'm gonna pick as my three favorite Vulcans T'Pring from Enterprise, though. That T'Pring, even though I do like the later
T'Pring from Enterprise.
Yeah, I like her, and then
there's no T'Pring in Enterprise.
Yeah,
who was that?
There is.
No, the T'Pring was Spock's fiance.
Oh, who am I thinking of? T'Pau.
Yeah, T'Pau.
Thank you. That's who I'm thinking of. T'Pau. T'Pau.
What was Tuvok's wife? Was to something also.
To something. T'Pau. There's a lot of to somethings going on. Anyways, I choose T'Pau. I choose Saavik and Surak as my.
Which Saavik? Which Saavik?
I'll go with Robin
Surak?
Curtis. What's that?
And which Surak? I mean, is there only one? I mean, there's a Surak in the original series. Is there one in
two Surak? It's one in Enterprise, one in.
That's right. I choose the original series fake Surak.
From Savage Curtain.
Yeah, from the Savage Curtain. Yeah, it's
Barry Atwater. Barry Atwater. Yeah.
Those are my three quintessential Vulcans. Very, very cool tangent. I actually took up most of the episode, but that's all right. We got a few comments here. Let's see. T'Pol's first Vulcan on Earth is T'Pol, first Vulcan in Earth Starfleet, Spock Federation Starfleet. Yeah, I guess so. That's true. It makes sense. Although she's not really a member of Starfleet, I guess she's like a liaison the whole time or whatever.
Well, no, T'Pol becomes a member of Starfleet in season 3.
Does,
she's
okay.
actually in 4. Sorry, in 4. She's
my bad. I forgot that. Best Vulcans are the extremists who blow up. Wow, that's an extreme opinion. Nimoy Spock is my favorite Vulcan and favorite anything. Next comes Leonard, Leonard Sarek.
I'm with her.
Yeah.
I put Spock, Sarek, Tuvok as my favorite portrayals of Vulcans. I also enjoy the Vulcan ambassador to Earth in Enterprise. Soval.
No love for Kim Cattrall and Star Trek 6.
she's half Romulan. Or that's in the book, I think. Tuvok, I feel I know best, but even he shows emotion towards the end. His mini foot movement when Neelix leaves Voyager was very poignant.
His relationship with Neelix was just fantastic. It really was.
Nimoy was indeed a genius.
You know, it was a good Vulcan, just a small role, but in TNG there was that the woman who also played the Klingon wife of Worf, or Dr. Salar. I forget the actress I'm talking about.
She should have been the Doctor in season 2.
Susie Plaxton plays.
Yeah, she did a good job.
I love Pulaski, but she should have been the Doctor in season 2.
Yeah,
she could have taken over for Crusher.
Yeah.
We get Andorians, Tellarites, Orions, Vulcans, and more. Someone touched on it earlier how there was like a lot of different species shown here. I didn't have time to go look them up. Father, by any chance, do you know all the species that we saw other than the Tellarites, and the Andorians, and the Vulcans, of course?
There's short little gold, and there's like the people that are in kind of like Middle Eastern style robes, and a lot of the species I don't think have like an official canonical.
What about
name.
the 2 little gold guys who were serving drinks?
The both guys.
What I'm talking about.
For like a good 20
Yeah, they were getting crunk.
Well, the
they got some screen time.
What, you mean the golden palumpas?
Yeah, the
They were golden.
There's a random purple woman that a red shirt wanders off with in the background.
What did you guys think of the? Did we talk about this before the other guys got here? I guess, but the Andorians had not the Andorians. The Tellarites had like the weird, creepy eyes, the nightmare fuel eyes in this, which is really crazy. What do you think of the different? Because people talk about the redesigns of the Klingons, but the Tellarites have been redesigned a lot, I feel, as well.
Yeah, almost every appearance they look a little different. But they don't. This is the only time they have like a speaking role until we get to Enterprise. And then Enterprise had their own look established, and then we have the Discovery look. Then the Picard look is even different than that, and then lower decks what they did, which looks more like Enterprise, I guess, than anything.
Yeah,
I feel like I kind of look like a Tellarite now. The beard I've grown, I kind of have a Tellarite look.
Yeah. It's a good look. I like Tellarites. We definitely need to see more Tellarites, and I'd love to see a return to a more classic design. I do kind of like the creepy centerpiece pig with the apple.
I think we should have a sitcom with Sarek and a Tellarite living together. In a Manhattan apartment.
It's the Odd Couple Star Trek. That's fun.
Did you drink my milk, Sarek? It is not logical for me to have drank your milk.
This is funny. To infinity and beyond. I also like Savick in Wrath of Khan as a portrayal of a Vulcan. Nimoy's Spock, TOS is T'Pau, and TOS is Sarek. The purple girl is much purpler in the HD version. Oh, interesting. The Tellarites have never really got a full story. It's true.
It's true.
They're just like angry pigs.
and they do mining. I guess they're kind of like the dwarves in Lord of the Rings. Kind of they're sort of ornery, and they they like jewels and gems and stuff.
Were you guys?
people.
Did you guys think that? Did you guys think that Spock was going too far with his insistence on the mission, or do you think he was justified? Should he have let Scotty take the command?
Of course.
I thought,
like, for a hyper-logical species, it was like the most illogical thing. Like, what are you talking about, Spock?
That was for me. That was the most interesting part of this episode. Seeing Spock have to battle in between his duty and basically having the power to save his father's life or let him die. That was just fascinating to me. But I'm with Ruben. He lost his mind a little bit in this episode. I think he went a little bit too far in the other direction.
But Spock, this would be consistent with his character because he has always been the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one, until later when the crew sacrifice a lot just for him. Then he kind of switches his stance and he kind of gets it. But you were gonna say something, Fathery?
You're getting into like the meatiest part of the episode, and like the heart of the drama is it comes from Spock and like the struggles he's endured all his life, trying to be the half human living as a Vulcan. He's under so much pressure. He has this strange relationship with his father, and he doesn't want to cave and be like, "Oh, you acted out of emotion. You were worried about saving your father instead of doing your duty. So you could never live up and be like a true Vulcan son." He's so terrified of that, and it's strange his relationship with his mother, who's the one person he wants to have like that human loving relationship with. You get like that heartbreaking moment, that conversation between him and Amanda, and it plays that beautiful Spock scene that I can play on my bass, and then you get like that shot of like where the mom slaps him and walks out, and like he puts his hand up on the door. Like I cried. You know why? I've seen this episode a billion times. Like it moves me to tears every time I see it because Spock is such a tragic figure. And this episode,
that's the heart of the episode. Absolutely,
that is one slap. That is one serious slap that Amanda gives Spock.
She does.
Really, she really does. I mean, you could feel that, you know, the man that she loves is dying, and the one person that can save is her son. And to be how conflicted could you be, you know, that your son is putting Starfleet ahead of the father when everything they've done. You could feel the pain that, you know, when she slaps him. You really could.
It's also,
but you could see the pain in Spock as well, because, you know, he wants to help his father, but he's conflicted in himself.
Yeah, it's a great tension. I mean, because, you know, he says himself, Spock, that, you know, can you imagine what my father would say if I agreed to do this, you know, transfusion? I mean, he knows that Sarah couldn't even approve of that. I mean, you know, you think Scotty could handle the situation. So, you know, practically there isn't any reason for him not to. But technically, and Spock is a technical guy, he says, I forget the line, command prerogative doesn't recognize personal privilege or something like that. Like he can't just give it up because he wants to for this person.
Do you think it's more pride? Do you think it's more pride than anything else that he won't relinquish command?
Yeah, it's hard.
He's using it as an excuse.
What's that?
He's using it as an excuse to not help the dad.
So using the technical word of the
I don't think
regulation
so.
as an excuse.
I actually I'm with you on because earlier in the episode, Amanda and Jim are having a conversation, and you know, he's kind of like, I just don't get Sarek, you know, and she explains that like the Vulcan way is difficult, but it's actually it is a better way, in a weird sense, because again, like, ultimately he is doing the right thing, I guess, you know, where he is taking the needs of the many into account over the needs of the few, himself and his mother, or the one, you know, or his father. So it is like it is logical, and he is, I don't think he's being prideful at all. I think like, you know, and you do see a pain in the performance from Nimoy. But yeah, I guess I was curious to see what you guys thought, but I mean, he does do the logical thing. He does actually do what would be the correct thing, because it is possible that with the captain out. Now, I have to say that's what was really moving for me, was seeing the camaraderie where Captain Kirk, who's clearly injured, needs to like, and he would just like pretend he faked it to to like get up there, and then he ends up having to like go through this like very stressful, straining situation as well, where the ship's rocking around and his wound's gonna open back up again, and I thought that was really
surgery.
good.
The ship was rocking around during surgery.
Yeah.
The shot was pretty good in this one, though.
He needed a little more sweat.
You joke about the goofiness of you joke about the goofiness of like the Kirk Fu sequence, but all the stuff of like Shatner on the bridge is just straight gold to me. Like he's got to play like a Kirk who's trying to deceive Spock, but at the same time like he's about to collapse from his injury. And then when they have like the battle with the Orion ship, and the way that he uses his wits to defeat the ship, and then like after that, there's this wonderful little character moment when like he hits like the comm button on the captain's chair, like call security or something. The way he does it is just kind of like a celebratory fist bump, like "fuck, I'm good." I just down.
And could Scotty have done that? Could Scotty have done that if Scotty was in command? I mean, maybe not. I don't know. I mean, Scotty's a reliable guy, but he's not inspired. So, if maybe could Spock have done it if Spock had been in command? Who knows? But,
Spock,
but I mean, in the Doomsday Machine, even though Spock clearly knows Matt Decker should not take command of the ship, he has to go by the regulation. He has to go by the letter of the laws. So he's demonstrated an inability not to be flexible, I guess, or I mean, at least
to be illogical.
Right.
It's actually logical. It's just it is frustrating.
It's following authority. It's not logic. It's just following authority, which is not necessarily logical.
Well, in the sense that organizations like Starfleet depend on the chain of command, so to speak. So he's being like the most. I would say that he's being the most. It is frustrating because you also sometimes have to break the rules. That's like always a discussion about Star Trek, isn't it? Right?
Tension.
Like,
that's the tension.
That's the tension. Very cool. Very cool. Any other thoughts about this episode that you guys wanted to get out before we start wrapping it up? Ian, you're muted. You're muted again, Ian.
I think the prop guy probably hated Kirk with those last few slams he gave to the buttons. The prop guy's like, "Come on, Kirk, we don't have that much money, man."
Yeah, I did like the comedic bit at the end with Sarek and Spock when they're going about Amanda's, that she's so emotional. And so why did you marry her? Well, I thought it was logical,
The starting connection that develops further.
Yeah, and then McCoy at the end getting the final word, McCoy getting the final word, and he's just there. Obviously when you've got the three of them in the bed, you got Kirk, Spock, Sarek. They're all in bed, and he just gets the final word, and he's that grin on his face, sort of saying, "Yeah, I've got the final word."
Yeah, I actually got to ask Dorothy Fontana about that through Larry Nemechek, who kept in contact with her a lot during like the final years of her life, and I asked him to ask her, was that intended to be like a fourth wall break, like Deadpool style? Because it kind of looks like he's looking at the camera.
Yeah.
And she said that like that was something that they actually came up on the set, that DeForest Kelley and I forgot who directed this one, but like the director.
Pevney.
It was not
Joe Pevney.
in the script. Who was it?
Joe Pevney.
Pevney.
Okay, so that was something that they just thought up that day and did. But yeah, it's a wonderful moment for Dr. McCoy where he does finally get the last word.
I actually think McCoy has the best lines comedically. Obviously, he has that bit, and the bit to turn around and say that the salute is more painful than the dress uniform, and
that hurts worse than the uniform.
Yeah, those bits.
So
they are comedic gold, and they are all of McCoy. And it's I think all in all, it's. I think when people say what episodes should you watch in TOS, this is one of the episodes that you put in there for people 100%. To understand what TOS is. I think this is definitely one of those episodes.
Yeah.
What do you give it as a rating, Ian?
I'm sort of between. Hang on, I think Father wants to say something, but he's on mute.
Oh, you're on mute.
He's doing
Father, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry, just saying, like I gotta go. I gotta leave. Like real quick, 10 out of 10. This episode's better than anything from Next Generation, Voyager, Enterprise, Discovery, Picard. Any
Oh
show
my
that
god! Wow.
I love
okay.
it. Very
Well,
nice.
Father sent crewman Zach into
I
another
don't know about
dimension.
that.
well, following on from there, he's made my mind up because I wasn't sure between 9 and 9.5. I'm
By the
giving
way-
it 9.5.
By the way, I forgot to go first because I don't like people think I cheat on my rating, so it's a
No,
10
no,
for
no.
me. Just like
Yeah,
it's just
okay.
like-
Well, as I said, I will give it a 9.5.
9.5.
It's world building. It's one of the ones that really Star Trek really do flow with after this one. DC Fontana did a fantastic job of building the worlds, finding out what there is. So yeah, 9.5 for me.
Crewman Zach, how many wigs does this episode get out of 10?
I'm gonna get on that fathery train because I was gonna go down there too. I wrote down in my notes here that this has the dramatic conversation about Spock sacrificing his life for Kirk in the night fight, the conversation with the mom. I mean, like, it's paced like a modern episode of a television series.
Yeah, and none of it seems contrived. It all seems really
It's all
like
driving forward constantly. Like,
yeah.
there's no like, why is this scene happening? Like, it's all for the service of this story and like so many elements. So I give it a 0. No, wait, I'm sorry. 0. No, I give it 100 out of 10.
Wow, 100 out of 10. Boom, broke the scale.
Numbers work differently.
I love it.
But that's
you're
good.
from you're the antimatter universe, Crewman Zach. EGT.
I'll give it a 10. I think anything lesser would force me to believe you're an insulting Tellurite.
Well done.
Also, just going back to the moral conundrum when you were talking about pride, I think that Spock is so strong because he must have felt so pained and conflicted between his mother and his father. And, you know, we don't know a great deal of we know that they didn't get on the best, but I really hope that Strange New Worlds can really flesh out their relationship more, because that's something I wish we got more of. And I think that even when we learned that Spock was bullied as a child, that probably is a part of it. You know, his childhood and maybe feeling inferior to other Vulcans and isolated and alone because he doesn't feel close to either his mum or his dad, and they're both very different. But his mum is so loving for him, and I think it was so sad to see him be kind of misaligned in his views to follow duty, because I actually think it's kind of okay to do that on Sarek's side. I don't think Sarek would mind at all, but his mother was so pained, and she was trying to be so loving towards him, and then he does something like sacrificing his father, and I think that was just so sad to watch. And it was so well played, because Spock must be so strong to be able to hide all of that emotion he must be feeling during those moments. And I just can't wait for Strange New Worlds, because there are so many TOS stories that they can flesh out on, and probably not enough episodes that can really get us all we want, because we want so much.
I think, adding on to what Robbie was saying there about being bullied as a child, I think for people who haven't seen the animated series, see Yesteryear. You've got to see Yesteryear. You see some of that bullying, and that was carried on with the 2009 Star Trek. You saw that even more. That they're virtually identical scenes in Yesteryear and 2009, but I think that really does give an idea of what Spock's life was growing up with the Vulcans. I think it's just following on from what Robbie was saying on that bit there.
Conrad, your thoughts and rating?
I'd give this 10 Kirk bum hits out of 10. I think in one episode, this does so much world building. I mean, the writing is just spot on. It's very tight. It just gets on with it. We get, as has already been discussed, expanded Federation. I think the Amanda Starrick relationship is just really beautifully written. That formality, but that undertone that they actually love each other despite the differences between the logic and the more emotional human. I love the relationship between Amanda and Spock, and I love how that comes back in Star Trek 4. That one line at the end of Star Trek 4 where he goes, "Tell her I feel fine." It's just fantastic. I remember seeing Star Trek 4 and going, "Oh my god, it's Amanda! How cool is that?"
Yeah, and it's the same Amanda too, which is great. It's the same actor, yeah.
I think this, in one episode, this just does so much for the Star Trek universe, and we've seen that, sprinkled all the way through every single series. So I think it's absolutely, if you want to, if you're going back to TOS and you want to know where Star Trek was kind of born from, this is absolutely essential viewing. I think it's right up there with the best.
Beautifully put. Mr. Subcommander Tall.
Yeah, well, it's hard for me to disagree with everything we've heard. Hard for me to add on to it. I mean, absolutely a 10 out of 10. I mean, I struggle to think of how I would improve this episode if I could improve anything. I mean, I think even I'll just give a shout out to the wonderful acting in it. I mean, the guest stars, right down to the minor guest stars, even like the creepy Andorian main ambassador who has that moment with Spock and he has that wonderful like Austrian accent or something. And perhaps you should forget logic and devote yourself to motivations of passion or gain. Just all the acting is very convincing, and there was nothing I would change about it. I think it's a great episode, and like everyone has said, it's world building and emotional.
I've got one question before Marcelo gives his bit. You're saying about how you could improve. Do you think that it was the right amount of time for that episode? Do you think it could have been longer, or do you think that 50 minutes was right?
I think it was just right.
Yeah.
This is the first TOS episode I can think of that I haven't thought, this could probably be done in half an hour. It needed the full hour to really.
Do you think another 10 minutes would have taken away from commercials and all that stuff? Do you think another 10 minutes, or do you think that 50 minutes was right?
I can't think of what you would add in that 10 minutes that would elevate it anymore. It does. It kind of gets to its point very neatly and tightly in those 50 minutes or whatever the episode runtime is.
And yet all the scenes feel essential. Like I wouldn't cut anything either.
I don't know what you cut out either. Yeah.
It flows really nicely, telling it.
Whereas like in a lot of episodes, they linger on shots for like no reason, or like they kind of have these weird awkward pauses because that was TV back then. They didn't know how to fill that time. Yeah. This episode's like almost feels like it was written in like the 90s in a way. Like it was so. The pacing is relentless, and like everything's filled in with something. There's none of that blank space that kind of where like in most episodes I could be like, you could probably shave off like 20 minutes and the episode's like 35 minutes long and it's fine. But this episode, like, I don't know what you would add and I don't know what you would take away.
Well, that's down to DC Fontana. So sorry, Marcelo, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, I like that discussion because there's a lot of TNG episodes that to me, and not only TNG but Discovery, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager, that there's a lot of episodes where I'm like, this needed another hour. Like that one with them chasing the DNA clues all around the universe.
Yeah, that should have been a two-parter, right?
I feel like at least.
I think it was a two-parter.
No, it was only one freaking
episode.
I'm pretty sure, it was just the one.
And I'm like, why? Who thought of this? Like, this is.
That could have been an amazing sort of detective story, couldn't it?
Yeah, it's like they crammed it all in, and that chubby Klingon with the bad sense of humor.
You insolent opa, or whatever. Yeah.
But sorry, Marcelo, go ahead.
I thought this episode was really good. Like the part that resonated with me the most was the internal struggle that Spock had with his duty and taking care of his father, and like almost everybody else on the panel. That scene between Amanda and Spock, where Amanda lit up Spock's face with the slap heard around the galaxy. I thought that was great. But I'm gonna probably piss off a lot of people. I don't like Kirk Fu, and I don't like when Kirk starts banging on buttons. that sort of ticks me off. That's why I'm a Picard guy, because Picard is much more straight and not so demonstrative.
I have to say though, this was the best scene of fighting I've seen so far. It didn't feel as like over the top, even though there were like drop kicks maybe or whatever. But I did also like when he was like losing consciousness after he like I like that whole sequence, and I thought it was like the least dramatic of the ones I've seen so far. Like it felt the most real.
Yeah, and just to wrap up, to sort of close down the stream, I'll give this episode a 7. I thought it was very well done and very well written.
Very cool. Very cool. Anyone have anything to promote this week? Tell folks about your channels and like what you're doing. We'll go the other way around this time, and we'll end on the Dadmiral. So Marcello.
I have 2 podcasts. One of them is called Radio 815, and it's a podcast dedicated to examining the work of writer director J.J. Abrams, as well as his greater Bad Robot universe. So that's one podcast I have. And the other podcast that I have is a podcast called the Red Wall Podcast. That one is more personal. It's where I tell you way too much crap about my own life. I talk Star Trek, science fiction, all sorts of lovely stuff. So you guys can check out those 2 podcasts. And I also have a YouTube channel called Balloon Head Productions, where I review classic Mission Impossible episodes from the 60s. And I also do Smallville episodes and Doctor Who and all sorts of lovely stuff. So if you guys want to stop by on any of those platforms to give me a like, or I would greatly appreciate it. That's all the plugs I got.
Sorry, can I interrupt quickly?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Marcel, I don't know if you know, but me and Starfleet Boy talk about Doctor Who.
I do.
Every week, and you're welcome to join us if you ever want to.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I would love to do that, but I don't know where I would, jump in or whatever. So
We'll talk offline. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Sweet. Sub-Commander Tall, what do you got going on?
I don't have a huge social media presence out there, but if you want some of my Twitter commentary, that's basically about the original series. You can find me at Subcommander T or at Mr. Leslie TOS.
And you went and visited some TOS type locations this week on a hike.
That's right. Cool. I was out in southern and eastern Utah, and I don't think any of the sites were actually from TOS, but one of the Goblin Valley State Park was from Galaxy Quest. You might recognize.
Oh, Galaxy Quest
with the miners. So yeah, excellent, a wonderful time. But that's why I have a massage scheduled in 20 minutes to deal with my aching back after this. But, yeah, no, it was a great trip.
Are you sure it's just for the aching back?
Yes, I'm sure it's just for the aching back.
We were talking about chiropractors last night on Starfleet Boy After Dark for some reason.
Right.
UK Locutus, what have you got going on?
So I'm more than happy to connect with anyone on Twitter. I just like posting stuff all the time, memes, and I'm working my way through DS9 and just.
And you're a stellar cosplayer.
Oh yeah, this is brand new. So yeah, I'm looking forward to wearing it at DST. I basically am going to have purple Boimler hair for DST. I lost the bet with Tilly. Actually, it wasn't really a bet.
Well, actually, no, you won the bet, but
I think I won the bet, but I still
lost.
Purple hair. I don't know. She just went, you're going to have purple hair, whatever happens. So I'm having purple hair. So
that's
I'm looking
cool.
forward to that. I don't have a podcast, but I was on Dan Decker's Bad Choices and Bourbon. That was released this week. So if you hook him up at Bourbon Bad, you can listen to me talking about Star Trek, and we go into Superman, and there's a bit of Doctor Who, and we just have fun and just talk for an hour, and it's absolutely just a fantastic podcast and a lot of fun. So yeah, if you want to hear more about my my Star Trek background and what I love and stuff like that, yeah, just have a listen in there. But yeah, it's good fun. It's been awesome. Thank you very much for the invite.
Very cool. Thank you for coming on. You're welcome to come on more. Mr. Robbie, what have you got going on?
So tomorrow we'll have a Doctor Who, The Girl in the Fireplace discussion, and then we'll have a Batman Forever watch along.
That's awesome, Batman Forever. I like that.
I'm excited.
And The Girl in the Fireplace, what a fantastic Doctor Who.
Yeah, I love that episode.
I should come on for that one.
Crewman Zach.
Hey, yeah, I'll be on the Enterprise up in Scotty's Jeffries, dude. If you know what I mean.
Up in the nest.
But my counterpart on your Earth, you can check him out on popaxiom.com. Bunch of interviews. I'll eventually get around to posting more. I've been a little lazy the last month. I've been writing a lot of scripts, so it's been interfering. But popaxiom.com, interview on roomwork.com with actress Kayla Stanton from the movie Amber's Descent. And that's about it. I don't have a YouTube channel. I'm on R Martian on Twitter. And R-Martian76 on Instagram, which I never check, but go ahead.
You've interviewed a Star Trek person recently, Jeff Russo, and that you can read his interview with Jeff Russo, which is very cool too. Yeah,
I interviewed Jeff Russo. It's on popaxiom.com, and then a few years ago I interviewed the costume designer of Discovery.
Is that
Phillips?
Gersha Phillips.
Phillips. Wow. But that's on monkeysfightingrobots.co. Buried many years of articles.
You got to find all those things and put them on Ruben-Rights.com.
Indeed.
Dadmiral, what's going on? What's new in the world of Trek Cat?
Well, last week I recorded a podcast with Trek on the Tube with Trek Lad. So that will be coming out sometime in the future. So keep an eye on that. I'd like to say I listened to Bad Choices of Bourbon with Conrad on. Cracking. It's a really good episode. So if you haven't listened to it, listen to it. And I have to say I have nearly got all the same Star Trek Superman comics as you've got.
Oh,
they're upstairs somewhere. So
they're buried somewhere. I love the hell out of Superman.
Yeah, mine are in a big chest up in the loft. And Twitter, Instagram, and I'm hoping if you can see here, I have now got all the pieces here to make the Enterprise B.
Oh,
so
okay.
all these pieces.
I need, as a Lego fan, and Star Trek, Lego needs that franchise. I need to start building some of that stuff. I mean,
Enterprise B,
I would actually say I do. As I said, they are not my designs. I pick designers. I do the builds.
Yeah.
Conrad, have a look on. Hang on, what's the name? It's rebrickable.com. There's a whole range of Star Trek ones there. Oh. They have the pieces. You if you have any questions on how to get the pieces, how to buy them, give me a shout. I will tell you how to do it. You can get them on Brickhouse. You can get them on Bricklink.
Yeah.
It's there. As I said, all my Lego along here. I mean, I've got one which people do love, is the La Serena.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's nearly as good. It's nearly as good as the Hero Collector one.
Yeah.
So there are plenty out there. I tagged in with Tilly recently, and she's now got some kits that I managed to make for her. She asked me to do them for her, but I got the designs, so she will be doing that very, very soon as well. If anybody's got any questions on Star Trek Lego, drop me a line. I will help you any which way I can. So yeah, that's me after my waffling on about Star Trek Lego and everything else.
Thank you so much. One quick question to from the audience that's interesting is: will we see Scott Bakula Archer in Strange New Worlds?
I hope so.
Maybe.
It's certainly a possibility, Captain RGD. All right, everyone else gave it some 10s. We had a fun time talking. Thanks for joining us, audience in the chats. We really appreciate you. Please, when you get a chance, don't forget to like and share this video. Subscribe to everyone who has a YouTube here, and please consider subscribing to this YouTube. And live long and prosper.